Sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
Working in the margins. Dealing with our challenges, assessing needs, and finding solutions. Short-term, mid-range, and long-term. Solutions can find us working in the margins. Today's world is a tough baseline. It's more difficult than ever to just exist or get by. And it's not getting any easier. Moving forward in today's world has become both an art and a science. Food, clothing, temporary shelter, long-term housing, short-term jobs, temporary employment, or long-range careers. It all takes some help and finesse. Not everyone can do it. It's an art and a science. And let's face it, not everyone is a scientist. Some people need more help than others. The basics like reliable transportation, internet, laundry, a regular shower, even water, those basics we all take for granted. Electricity, these are the challenges of those caught in the net. Are homeless, unhoused, housing challenged, living in the margins. People of all ages, young, middle-aged, senior citizens, entire families, male, female, all reasons and all walks of life. Anyone can find themselves living in the margins. Homelessness and the challenges that go with it are not going away, and we can't ignore them. It's just too expensive. We've got to do better. Take the next step forward. Tune in now and listen to Working in the Margins with Zazetta Scott.
Good evening, Inland Empire. Welcome to Working in the Margins. I'm your host, Shazette, and I will be bringing in and talking to San Bernardino County community leaders about how to better serve our unhoused and marginalized San Bernardino County citizens. I will be giving weekly updates about community resources available in our area. My first guest tonight is a very talented artist and influencer who has survived domestic violence and is figuring out a way to heal with her poetry. Robbie is courageously sharing a piece that she has written. Robbie is a 20-year-old young woman who has been assisted by the TAPE programs with Family Assistance Program. Hi, Robbie. Welcome to the show. The floor is yours.
Hi, guys. All right. Growing up, love seemed so easy and realistic. Something in the movies every little girl could dream. I was once in love, but I had to question, was it love or was it an attachment and an attraction to something my parents put out to be? See, toxic love feels like being in a relationship with a piece of you that's healing, but a piece of you has that feeling that love will never be good enough for your damaged heart. Damaged love caused a dangerous person. A damaged person caused a dangerous love. A dangerous love caused a dangerous outcome. I said I loved him, but I think I fell in love with the meaning of love. Love is walking away, but seeing if your partner will follow. Will they open up their hands and arms to you, or will they open up their evil ways and cause damage to you?
Thank you, Robbie.
You're so welcome.
That's so sweet. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure, Robbie, you're giving hope to a lot of survivors of domestic violence just by being here and sharing your heart with us. I appreciate your courage, and you get to stay with me through the show. So I really appreciate you. I really do.
I definitely appreciate you, too. I really do. Give me a hand.
Thank you. I know. You're a sweet, just my sweet girl. So we have a tough subject we're going to talk about tonight, but it's a much needed subject to be discussed because of a very startling statistic. So in 2023, there was a study conducted by the California Partnership to End Domestic Violence, and it found that 57% of women who are homeless attributed domestic violence as the primary reason for their homelessness. This percentage escalates to a staggering 80% if the woman has a child in her care. So tonight we're going to talk about domestic violence, and we're going to talk to Dr. Treasure Ortiz. She's currently a advocate for San Bernardino County. She is currently running for city council. But why Treasure is here with me today is because she's also a survivor, thriver of domestic violence. So I want to talk to Treasure about what her plans and solutions are going to be when she becomes a city council person, if that works out in her favor, and what she wants to bring to our community, even just as an advocate. So Dr. Treasure Ortiz, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you.
Thank you.
I've been following you for quite a while. I go to the city councils, and if I don't go, I do listen. And you're usually there to bring good insight about our community and the needs of our community to the city. You are a wonderful advocate, I believe, for the city of San Bernardino. So thank you for that. I recently found out that that you were a part of the DV survivor community, and I'm like, I got to talk to her. I want her to come on. I want to talk to her. So let's get into it. How would you prioritize right now addressing domestic violence in our community?
With the statistic that you read alone, and another statistic that had come out recently through our school district with about 5,000 of our kids facing homelessness or unsheltered stuff, this really this really speaks to a big problem about why people are unhoused.
Yes.
And it's something that we don't talk about.
Right.
And I remember my biggest fear when I was going through my situation is what's going to happen when I tell, and what's going to happen when I ask for help, and where am I going to go? Because not only does it come with the physical violence, it comes with the financial restraint against you and how your household is managed. And so for years, this is, unfortunately, my story is getting thrust, because someone wants to play politics with it. But the true thing is that's something we always have to look for. It's why I so appreciate the Family Assistance Program. It's just what you guys do in providing that type of housing. We need to make sure that we are creating and holding on to strong partnerships.
Yes.
And making this is, even in 2024, is such a taboo topic.
Yes.
Men and equally women are victims of these type of relationships, young, still kind of young, and there is no cap.
Right.
And so we have to, as a community and as leaders, facilitate and be an open arm to these members of our community who are struggling.
Exactly. I think this is like the first year that I have really been working with the domestic violence community, diligently, that we've been focused, because Family Assistance Program, our main course of work is domestic violence. And I've learned so much, but I still feel that there's a lot to be learned, that there's populations now that are experiencing more domestic violence because of their age. They're older, they're seniors, there's women, things are, times are tough, and it's bringing people and their relationships to breaking points, and that's what's kind of what promoted me. We need to talk about DV. So tell me, Treasure, how would you work with local law enforcement to address domestic violence cases?
So in my tale, what helped me was that the officer that came when I called 911 was somebody I had gone to church with for the majority of my life. It was I grew up in a very small town, and so it was a big part of community policing. You lived next to, went to school with their children, they talked to you, we played rec ball. I mean, we were a community together. And that is something I've advocated for since I first got into the politics, is really creating this community policing model where you're not just a suspect. You are a person to our men and women who are here to protect and serve our community, and being involved, being in the schools. I used to hire for the police department, and one of the missions that I wanted to see was that we have homegrown heroes. because that way, when when you're rolling up to someone, you're like, oh my gosh, Zach, I know you, I know whatever this instance is in your life right now, it doesn't define you, and I'm going to help you, because you're not just another statistic.
Right.
You're my neighbor, you're my friend.
Let's work to keep you from becoming a statistic.
Absolutely.
Let's get to it early. Robbie, what kind of help was there for you when you were going through your difficulty?
So when everything did unfold, I went straight for help, and it was hard because I didn't know how to, come out and ask people for help, because I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what was the right thing to say, and if I was gonna hurt other people more than hurting myself. It was hard for me to be able to be open about the situation that I was going through. I first did talk to my coach, AJ, and when I did talk to her, she helped me understand that what I was going through wasn't normal. So after that, I did go to Gwinnett and Salali at Family Assistance, and they did help me. And when they did, it put me in a different mindset to think that there's people that go through things and they keep it, deep down, and then when they do and explode, people, just react in a way that you didn't expect, and people try to manipulate the situation, and that's the problem, When I did, go for help, and when I did speak to the people that I could speak to that got me out of my situation, it became a lot on me because it took a toll. I had to step back and understand that, okay, once this happens, you have to get into that mindset that you want to get away, and it was hard for me to disengage with my family, disengage with the things that was going on. It was hard for me to unlearn my trauma, you feel me? So I had to come down to understanding that it is what it is, and at the end of the day, when things do happen, sometimes things do happen for a reason. So I had to come down to that conclusion.
That's, we as adults and we as parents sometimes don't we're going through this sometimes for the first time, just like our kids. I've never been the parent of a 31-year-old, just like my 31-year-old has never been 31 years old before. And sometimes, I still question, am I saying anything that he could say, you know what, you traumatized me, and his behaviors change or are different, and I think we talked a little earlier, Robbie, and I said to you that you deserve good parents.
Definitely.
You deserve good parents. We all deserve good parents. But most of the time, a lot of the time, we don't get good parents. We get parents that struggle, parents that have addictions, parents, and sometimes we have to learn to parent ourselves. And I just admire you, Robbie, because you are not only trying to parent yourself, but heal yourself at the same time.
Definitely.
And that takes a lot of strength. And you're 20 years old. That's a lot to ask for a 20-year-old.
Yep.
Treasure.
Definitely.
Tell me, what measures would you like to see that support and empower survivors? What type of things maybe in the community could we support to strengthen, and give our survivors the courage and empower them?
Well, as you guys know, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and so I think that really needs to be recognized. It's a time where we can really open the dialogue. It's a national conversation, and so we need to be having it here. We need to make sure that we're having the conversation where where kids are, where adults are, and we have a lot of really good organizations within that deal with, they have support groups and Option House, and there's another, and it's going to leave me right now, but other
Don't worry, because I have them all listed.
Okay, perfect.
We're going to talk. I'm going to introduce all of them tonight. Don't worry. Everybody's going to leave here knowing all of our DV shelters here in San Bernardino County. Well, not all of them, but most of them.
Yeah, and stop re-victimizing. I think the thing is that people are afraid. And I got this call after my story, started being manipulated. This is why we're afraid to call the police, because one, you're always afraid. In my circumstance, when I called the police, I wasn't arrested. They listened to me. They heard me. And so that's the fear. We have to, I think this is a good conversation with law enforcement and saying, here's the steps, here's the procedures, because it is scary. It is such a fear, like I'm going to be in trouble now that I've taken this time. And I remember I used to cry when I was going through my therapy, because this happened to me very early in my 20s, because I was always mad. Like people say, well, if someone ever hit me, I'd kill him. That's not true. That you don't do that. I never
Not our natural
ever
instinct.
It's not, because this is someone you love. This is someone who loves you. And so I learned through therapy that the day that you really hit back, the day that you fight back, is the day that you call the cops and ask for help. That when
Right.
someone sees, so we need to create that relationship where people are not afraid. Victims cannot, and survivors cannot be afraid of the police, because they're there to protect us and serve
Right.
us in that way. And that would be something I would absolutely advocate for.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. And I agree. I used to volunteer with a program called Project Sister. And we worked with them a little bit back in one of my another incarnation, and they were actually called out for those type of situations, and they would go in with the police and into the hospitals with the kids, you know. And I just thought that was so heroic, because you don't know what kind of situation you're walking into, but their whole mindset was helping the victims at that time, and I just thought that was amazing. So we're gonna go to commercial real quick. We're going to come back and we're going to keep having this great conversation. We're hoping folks are tuning in so that they can try to get resources. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back.
KCAA. One of the best ways to build a healthier local economy is by shopping locally. Teamster Advantage is a shop local program started by Teamster Local 1932 that has brought together hundreds of locally owned businesses to provide discounts for residents who make shopping locally their priority. Everything from restaurants like Corky's to fun times at SB Raceway and much, much more. If you're not currently a Teamster and you want access to these local business discounts, contact Jennifer at 909-889-8377, extension 224. Give her a call. That number again is 909-889-8377, extension 224.
KCAA.
Hello, San Bernardino. Welcome back. This is Shazette. We are on our show, Working in the Margins. I have two guests in studio, Dr. Treasure Ortiz and Miss Robbie, a age youth that is a survivor of domestic violence. And Treasure is a San Bernardino advocate, and she's currently running for San Bernardino City Council. And she also happens to be a survivor of domestic violence. And that's our topic today. There's been a lot on my heart about this issue coming lately, you know, just hearing certain news stories and things like that. And I said, we need to talk about this, you know. And then the startling statistic of how many women are homeless because of through domestic violence. You know, 57% of women are homeless because of DV, and 80% if they have a kid. Man, that's terrible. But we understand as a community, you know, sometimes we re-victimize our survivors by saying, you know, well, I would just take it so I wouldn't have to be on the streets. I'll stay home. I'd rather just take it. Or, you know, my kids need their father. Or I believe there was somebody on this campaign circuit right now that said, you know, we don't take marriage seriously anymore, that we just, you know, and that we should just try harder, even if there is violence and if there is, you know, mistreatment. And makes no sense at all that we would tell people to stay in a bad situation where they are dying and where they're being, you know, and being hurt. So Treasure, I want to ask you, because you're in the community and you have a special relationship to these type of issues, what would you address as the root causes of domestic violence in our community?
A lot of it's based in trauma, in other people's trauma, and being the the punching bag for dealing with that. And I think that's especially for, historically in minority communities, most of all, dealing with things has not been our forte, or talking about them. And so here we come, and like you're saying, with our parents and with us, is being put into these relationships and these situations that we don't know how to control, and and our emotions, and thinking
Right.
that, and these economic burdens.
Right.
There is never an excuse for violence against someone, but what we know is that if you get in front of things, financial restraints, children, they create, they can be so hard, and you don't know how to get away from it.
Right.
And so providing resources where you have like strong park and recreation, where the
Yes.
kids can go, senior centers, like we're talking about seniors being there, where you have a place for adults to be able to work and play and have like this well-rounded quality of life.
Right.
And so I think it's just addressing the human issue of what it is, and providing counseling, and taking that, again, the taboo off of therapy and treatment, and vocalizing, like, I'm so angry and here's why. And being able to tell people, like, this is not, like you said, this is not normal, and this may be have something you've seen your entire life, but understand that this is the exception to the rule, and there's a whole
Right.
nother, because I was never hit as a kid. I was never hit. So to be in a situation where I was,
As an adult.
it shocked my core, and I was like, well, I must have done something very bad. I need to fix what I'm doing, rather than looking at the total, which, in instance was drug
That's what we
abuse.
do.
And
We internalize first, right?
because why can't you love me? What am I doing
Right.
wrong?
Say it again. Sorry.
That was my.
Why
but
am I unlovable?
that's it, because it doesn't
Right.
start with a punch. If someone punched you on your first date, you'd be like, whoa.
Done.
But this becomes with, look what you did, and look how you made me feel, and look what,
Belittling.
and then you internalize it. And so
Right.
we've got to be able to have that conversation. One, why do you feel like you can blame someone? And two, why do you
Right.
feel like you own that blame?
Robbie, do you think if you had some type of education, like in high school, about, I don't know if they do or don't, but I always thought, get to the, if you teach us young what to look for, what the signs are, you may not be going through it. Your family may not be experiencing this, but I guarantee you're sitting next to somebody in your class who didn't sleep the night before because of screaming and yelling, So do you think we should learn younger, like in high school or middle school?
Okay, so this is kind of like a touchy topic,
I know,
because
take your time.
in my opinion, it's actually learned in the household. The trauma starts in the household. So in a way, when it does start in the household, it kind of like navigates to different parts of your life. You feel me? So when you go to school, it affects you at school. It affects you when you're outside. It affects you any time of the day. You could just have like a random flashback. So in my opinion, I believe that, yes, it should be taught in school, but it should also be taught what to look for, the signs, and not only that, but to speak back to what you said, in my opinion, I can say that I do think that domestic violence, the normalization, it starts in the household. It definitely does, because if it starts in the household, you get so normalized to it, and it
Internalize.
there we go, that word. It does that, you start to like accept it in a way. So when you see into a relationship, it's like, okay, well, I've been to this before, so it's kind of like, it's like a
is what I
cycle,
grew- right.
it's like what you grew up on. So
Right.
I could kind of understand, everybody's perspective when you can't really, sometimes you can't put yourself in other shoes until you put yourself in other shoes.
right.
You feel me? So you can't really judge off somebody's situation just knowing by what you see on the outside, because you never know what's going on the inside. You feel
Right,
me?
or at
It could be anything, So I
Yeah.
think that people just need to learn and understand that you have to take accountability when it comes down to the trauma that
Right.
you're placing on your child, and it does start at home. And if it doesn't start at home, where does it start then?
Right.
So
Yep.
that's
Right.
what I want to say.
Preach. So I feel that a lot of this, like you said, the domestic violence, it's cyclical. It's, generational. It goes through And yeah, people are, they get normalized to it. This is how grandma was treated. This is how mom was treated. This was how auntie was treated. So yes, and I feel like the kids are, they're trained. We train them. You don't go to school, you don't say nothing
Submissive.
about what going on.
Submissive.
Right.
Submissive.
You
Kids are taught to be
keep it to
submissive.
don't talk about what go home.
That's
I know
right.
what we do as a culture. You don't open your mouth about home business.
Not at all. What goes
What
on in the house
house
stays in
is-
the house.
Exactly.
Man, I grew up on that.
Yeah. And so I just hope that the kids are are in school. I hope that this is happening, that they're seeing that or hearing that that's not normal, that's not right. What you going through? Why? That's not normal.
But they're really not. I mean, look at
Right.
the push for so long when I was in school 20 years ago was to eliminate sex education, which was a vital component of, this is your body, this is your vessel and protection, and here's what you can and can't. And so what we've done is said, oh, that conversation's in the house.
Right.
Well, the violence is in the house.
Right.
The sexual misconduct's in the house and
Right.
in the family and in the next door. And so we have to be a community. It takes a village.
It does.
And we all have to
That's
be
not just a
participants.
saying, y'all.
It is not.
Hello.
That's not just a saying.
If I can add on really quick,
I just want to say that mental abuse is very real, okay?
especially
It is.
this is not to just categorize one particular community, but in the Black community specifically, my people, they do not believe in mental abuse, and that is actually insane because the emotional torture that somebody can go through, and it turns out to be physical to the point where you're actually physically harming yourself mentally and causing yourself to be, shut down and away from other people. So if you're going through something mentally and it's causing you some type of distress, please take the time to remind yourself that it's not your fault, and everybody else got their own traumas that they, like in a way, trying to put onto you, but you got to unlearn your own traumas before anybody else
Right.
can learn yours.
Before you take on anybody else's.
Exactly.
This is so great. I'm so happy to have you two here.
Glad
I
to
have
be
some folks on the phone. We're going to go to a break, and when we come back, I'm going to talk to my two guests that are on the phone. Tracy, I have probably two or three. Okay, two. Eric is like two. And we're going to talk to them about what they do as providers to serve domestic violence. Sorry, Tracy runs a domestic shelter, and they have, I believe Lori is on, and we'll come right. Sylvia and Tracy, awesome. Okay, we'll be right back.
KCAA Loma Linda. For several years, KCAA has been marketing the Youngevity brand of nutritional and personal care products. Our experience with Youngevity has been 100% positive, so we are pleased to recommend them to you. Regarding nutritional supplements, we recommend Pollen Burst in the berry flavor and Tangy Tangerine 2.0 in the tablet form. For regularity issues, we recommend 3-Day Cleanse, and for personal care, we recommend Morning Hydration Cream. You can shop online for Youngevity at www.kcaateam.com. Or you can order by phone by calling 800-982-3197 and tell customer support that you are part of the KCAA team. Youngevity is an American company based in San Diego. Call Youngevity at 800-982-3197 and ask about monthly auto ship that allows you to buy Youngevity products at wholesale prices. That number again, 800-982-3197.
This is KCAA.
Welcome back, San Bernardino. This is Shazette with Working in the Margins. I have two in-studio guests today, Dr. Treasure Ortiz and Miss Robbie. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and we're going to talk to Miss Tracy Rick. She's the director of DV Housing with Family Assistance Program. Tracy?
Hi, Suzette.
Hi, Tracy. Thank you for calling in. We're at the solutions part, so you are part of that. You are since 2009. I didn't even know that. So you've been working as a director of DV Housing since 2009, and you oversee the Hope House Empowerment Center. And Hope House is emergency domestic violence shelter and a rental assistance program. You are an alumnus of Women's Foundation of California. You're a seroptimist of the Victor Valley and a board member of Rock Our Disabilities. You are a very well accomplished woman. And it's been for the folks that don't know, I work at Family Assistance Program. Proudly, I work at Family Assistance Program. And I have had the pleasure of working with Tracy now for the last year. And so we're going to get into it. So Tracy, tell me, what inspired you to become a domestic violence service provider?
Oh, past experience. Years ago, there were no services available. If you had boys, you couldn't take boys over 13 into shelter with you. There were just so many restrictions that things needed to change to have resources more available for people.
That's awesome. So that was really a thing. You couldn't, if the boys were over 13, you couldn't take them with you?
No, you couldn't.
So if you did, what would happen to the boys if they couldn't go with you? Or would the people come, or the moms come?
A lot of people wouldn't come in. I know I wouldn't go in, but it's like you either find a place for them or you don't go in, and they're still children,
Exactly. And most of the time, isn't it, if the mom is getting abused, the kids are probably being abused, even if they're just being subjected to the mom's abuse. So, wow. Tracy, tell me about our organization and the service that we provide for domestic violence.
Okay, so when I first started there, it was High Desert Domestic Violence Program. We were very small, and we had the shelter. We had a 24-bed shelter. Then we changed the name to Family Assistance Program. So then we started branching out to different areas of assistance for families. But the Hope House is the domestic violence shelter. We bring people in, they call in through the hotline number, and we bring them in that way, or the police will bring them in. Once a client gets into the shelter, we work with them with custody, restraining orders, whether legal things they need to do. Most of them come in with nothing, so we have donations. We set them up with clothing and toiletries and the whole work.
Right.
We give them domestic violence education classes and everything.
Wow.
We help them to get jobs, and then after they get employed, we can move them into our transitional housing, and then after the transitional housing, we can move them into permanent housing.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You're giving people new lives. How do you ensure the safety of your clients?
Well, we let our clients keep the phones when they come in. A lot of places don't. But what we'll do is we'll teach them how to turn off their locations, how to be safe on their phones, so once they leave, they know how to do that.
Awesome.
So we try to teach them all the safety things that need to be in place.
How to keep themselves safe. Right. That's awesome. Tell me, can you share a success story of somebody? No names, but can you share?
We had a lady that came in who was in a big custody fight with the dad. He had temporary custody of the kids. Through a lot of legal stuff, we got the kids back to her. She went into our transitional housing. She got a job, and in the end, she was able to leave buying her own house.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, now she's a homeowner, too. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Look, that's, and all through the support of people who care about domestic violence victims. You all care, I know that Family Assistance, that was the start. That was the first brick, was domestic violence, and just look how we have grown. How many other organizations do you all work with as part of the DV Coalition?
Well, San Bernardino County, there's seven programs.
Okay.
And
awesome.
yeah, so we collaborate with them. If we need to move people around, we relocate them into a different program in a different city, and we work together that way. Right.
That's important because sometimes spouses or the abusers can find out where they are, right? So, or sometimes the victims, they can't break that first time, and so I know I've had that experience before. Tracy, how does Family Assistance raise the awareness about domestic violence in the community?
We do a lot of events and outreach programs. We also have an advocate in the Children Family Service office and in the CalWorks office that can help any victim of domestic violence that comes in there.
Right.
And all of our stuff is confidential, so we don't release the information to anyone
Right.
of what's going in or anything.
Right.
And now that we have the Empowerment Center opened up in Victorville, people can come in there. We have employment advocate, we have housing navigators, we have restraining order legal advocate, we have classes, we have a clothing closet, we have all sorts of resources up there.
That's
So,
amazing. That's amazing. I know I've been there, and it's just chock full of things to get somebody started on their way. Tell me, what are you looking for from the community to come along and help you serve the clients that you help?
Sometimes we need a lot of volunteers and donations. The people that are in the shelter kind of like when other people come in and talk to them and kind of give them a class or a group or something like that. They find they get very engaged in it.
Right.
So the volunteers is a lot because having a mentor to help them through things
Right.
in the world, and
Right.
that can go with them when they leave the shelter too, and be that person they can run to.
Exactly. Well, I have 2 in-studio guests who I'm sure will be knocking on your doors to volunteer. I'm voluntolding y'all. So,
Happy to do it.
I know. We need as many people to pay attention to this issue as possible because the statistics are stark about who's on the streets homeless. From this population, this marginalized population. There's so many myths about this population that people, sadly judge and make up in their minds that, that domestic violence survivors don't deserve anything better or to get out of their situation because, me and Treasure were saying, Treasure was like, it bothers me when people were like, well, if somebody was doing something to me, I would just kill him or I would knock him out. Nobody can beat me up or, it always reminds me when people say things like that, when I talk to Black people about slavery and they're like, I could have never been a slave. I could have never been a slave because, but people don't realize the times were different. Times are different. Times are different for each and every single one of us. We do not know. I don't know all of Treasure's background. I don't know all of Robbie's background. But what they have in common is domestic violence survivors. They are domestic violence survivors. So, Tracy,
recently we've been seeing a lot of people coming in with gunshots.
Right.
People, families coming in because one of their family members got killed from a gun.
You're right.
From domestic violence. We had a girl that came in asking for help after she got out of the hospital of being shot.
Wow.
So it seems to be like this is a new trend going on.
Yeah, people not even playing with guns with knives and stuff anymore. They just going straight for the, for the smoke, for the gun, for the smoke, and it's sad because I feel like not just in households, men and women, husbands and wives, but family members. Family members are turning on each other and they're using weapons. A gun to me is a weapon of mass destruction. So because it can take your whole life and it can take the whole, away from a family that depends on you. So it does seem like, it's just gotten more aggressive, and that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. Tracy, do you have translators and everything within your program to address cultural and language barriers?
Yes, we do. We have Spanish people that speak. We have Spanish, and we reach out to other programs if we need other languages.
Okay, that's good to know. I appreciate you coming on, Tracy. I have 2 other people from Family Assistance from your team, actually, and they do different things. So we're going to talk to Sylvia and Diana about how they serve our population of domestic violence. We're going to go to a commercial real quick, and when we come back, we'll be talking to Diana and Sylvia from Family Assistance Program. Tracy, thank you. I owe you a burrito when I get to the high desert. Thank you so much. I appreciate your community appreciates you for the work that you do every day.
Miss your favorite show? Download the podcast at kcaaradio.com.
This is KCAA.
Redlands Ranch Market is a unique full-service international grocery store that specializes in authentic food items from Mexico, India, and from many Mediterranean and Asian countries, including popular items from the U.S. They offer fresh-baked items from their in-house bakery, house-made tortillas from their tortilleria, a delicious array of prepared Mexican foods, a terrific fresh fruit and juice bar, and a large selection of meats, seafoods, and deli sandwiches, salads, and halal meats. Their produce department is stocked full with fresh, local, and hard-to-find international fruits and vegetables that you cannot find anywhere else. Don't forget to stop into the massive Beer Cave and experience the largest selection of domestic, artisan, and imported beers in the IE. They can also cater your next event with one of their delicious takeout catering trays of food. Visit them at RedlandsRanchMarket.com. That's RedlandsRanchMarket.com. Redlands Ranch Market, a unique and fun shopping destination. 106.5 FM and KCAA 1050 AM.
Good afternoon, San Bernardino. This is Shazette. This is Working in the Margins, and today I have the privilege of having Dr. Treasure Ortiz in studio. Our subject today is domestic violence. We've talked to we're talking to folks about some solutions, things that we could, some trends and challenges we have. I just spoke to Tracy Rick. She's the Director of Housing for Domestic Violence with Family Assistance Program in the High Desert. And she says that a trend that she is seeing is that victims are coming in with gunshot wounds. People are skipping the whole, stab and choke. They going straight for the shoot, and that's unfortunate because, man, sometimes, these problems are temporary. All this stuff is temporary. We're going to move away from this, and then, we make permanent decisions for temporary situations. And it's just not, you're taking moms or dads, because domestic violence goes always. Mom, dad, children, uncles, cousins. I've seen a few recent reports about uncles and cousins and, hurting each other and, and then sometimes you don't know as adults and families and moms and dads, we don't know what abuse we're subjecting our children to, even if we think we're just, arguing or roughhousing or playing, it's affecting our youngsters. So I have two advocates on the phone from Family Assistance Program. I'm sorry, I'm gonna cough. I didn't want to do that in the mic. That would hurt your ears. We have two advocates. Diana Penaloza, she's the legal advocate with Family Assistance Program. And I have Sylvia Romo, and she's been a case manager for domestic violence survivors for the past 5 years. And she oversees the rental assistance program for our survivors that are coming out of shelter into permanent and supportive housing. Sylvia, Diana?
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine.
All right. Thank you for joining in. I appreciate you.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Hi. I'm so happy that you could call in and join in. We're talking about something very important. And you both, Diana, you being the legal advocate, I'm going to ask you first. First, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and tell me a few things about yourself. I have your bio, so don't go through all of that because I know it. But just tell me a little bit about yourself, and we're going to talk about the services that you provide.
Yes, good evening once again. Thank you for having us. My name is Diana. I am the legal advocate with Family Assistance Program. I have been with the agency for about 4 years. Prior to that, I did volunteer for about 10 months. So I've been with the agency for quite some time. I am 23 years young and looking forward to continuing in this field.
That's amazing. So tell me, I see that you support court advocacy, court accompaniment to violence of domestic violence, to victims of domestic violence. Tell me something. Tell me, what does that look like? What does that advocacy look like?
Yeah, so it's guiding the victim of domestic violence through the court system. You know, filing a restraining order isn't something that anybody wants to do, but at times just necessary for safety.
Right.
And it's a process that is very new to 99% of the individuals going through domestic violence.
Right.
You know, for the most part, it is their first time filing. So being able to guide them through the whole process, assisting them with the documents, electronically filing the documents for them, so that they, you know, are not being misguided or given the runaround, is something that I'm able to do for them.
That's awesome. Because that can be scary. It can be a scary journey, you know. A lot of these ladies are leaving and trying to get restraining orders and go to court, you know, because they're tired of being scared, you know, and it's scary. It's a scary situation navigating all that on your own. Treasure, did you have to have services, or did you have to avail yourself of services during your experience? And did they help?
I did not. My family stepped in and took me away, and then I never saw the person again. But I have worked with and mentored young women who have gone through this process, and what they're most afraid of is they're going to permanently hurt, even though this is their abuser. This is going to something that's going to follow that person for the rest of their lives, and so that apprehension, or you know, well, what do you do if that piece? How's a piece of paper going to stop someone from coming back?
Right.
And so there is a lot of mental, you know, anguish that goes into this.
Because sometimes these are mothers, and they're not the breadwinners. The husbands are the breadwinners. So when they have to get out because of abuse, they're going to be financially going under financial abuse. Diana, tell me a good story. I want to hear a good mission, a good feel-good story, because I want people to know that this help is available. I'm going to give all the numbers and information at the end of the show, that this information is available. And tell me about how you help somebody get to the better side of their situation.
Yeah, well, this is kind of a difficult one to choose from, because thankfully, you know, there have been a lot of great outcomes to a lot of the individuals that I have helped throughout the last couple of years. You know, from elders to young minors to women, men. You know, every case is different, but there have been specific cases that have stuck with me for quite some time.
Right.
Throughout the last couple of years.
Right.
I would definitely say anything that has to do with minor children, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, the kids.
So, you know, I've helped somebody who, you know, her abuser took her child. Unfortunately, there was no court order that law enforcement was able to enforce. So, you know, she had to go through that legal process first. You know, she tried to seek the services of law enforcement, but once again, there was not much that could be done. They advised her to file for custody orders, for a restraining order, to which they provided my contact number to her. She was able to contact me. I was able to get her in with my soonest available appointment. We then went through the whole process. She got granted full custody. She had no visitation, along with a permanent restraining order.
Right.
And she was able to get her child.
Oh, God. Oh, wonderful. That's a wonderful story. I hope and pray for her continued success, because that's a difficult situation. Thank you so much, Diana, and we appreciate you for all your services that you're providing. I'm going to talk to Sylvia real quick, and then we're going to wrap up. But Sylvia, I want you to talk about your domestic violence walk for National Domestic Violence Awareness Month in October, because you head that up. So I want to hear about it and what the goals are, what you want financially. This is your time to shine. You ask for what you want right now. Come on.
Yes, support us. Come out and support. Register. It's September the 28th. This year we're doing it at the fairgrounds. We got a sponsor that sponsored the venue. They pay for everything. So our job is to get our walkers out there and raise awareness this year We're going to walk from the entrance of the fairgrounds all the way to Green Tree. All the way back is the 3-mile turnaround walk.
That's awesome.
You don't have to run.
And this is in
You can walk.
Victorville, right?
And
Victorville.
it's in Victorville.
Right.
And it will be on the historic Route 66.
Okay.
And just so you guys know, we're the only city that will be hosting one of the largest domestic violence walks in, like, basically San Bernardino County.
That's awesome,
Okay?
because that's how we do a family assistance program.
Yes.
That's how we do. We go big or we go home, right?
Yes.
So we are going to honor our survivors. We're going to honor lives lost. So thank you so much. I'm going to bring you back on the show because I want to talk to you about some other stuff about housing and funding possibly for domestic violence. So thank you. But thank you for coming on. I
Thank you for
appreciate
having
you.
us.
Thank you. Thank you, Diana. You guys have a great evening.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you. Oh, wonderful. So thank you, Treasure Ortiz, for coming in. Dr. Treasure Ortiz, I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate our conversation. But more importantly, I appreciate your dignity, and I appreciate your courageousness and your courageousness and your integrity, because you went through a hard situation. You had a mean person kind of throw this out at a public meeting, thinking he was playing gotcha with you and your history, not knowing that he was re-traumatizing you during that situation, and that you even heard back from some folks saying that's why we don't call the police.
Yes.
That's why we don't call, why we don't ask for help. But thank you so much. I really appreciate you for coming on. Thank you, San Bernardino, for tuning in. I have some announcements that I want to make. We have quite a few things going on. I have 4 minutes, so I need to talk quick, right, Eric? We have, like was mentioned, we have some domestic violence events coming up. We have a training. It's on my phone. I'm sorry, people. We have a training coming up it's a 40-hour state mandated. You can get trained for domestic violence and get a state mandate. And it's free. So it starts September 10th to the 26th. It's Tuesday to Thursday. And then you will be qualified, certified to work with domestic violence and advocate for domestic violence. San Bernardino, we have the Family Assistance is supporting and participating and partnering with the Youth Advocacy Summit. It's on Saturday, September 7th. Give me a call at 909-908-8053 for more information. I think there's still seats available. We have the walk that we mentioned is called a Walk a Mile in Their Shoes, Domestic Violence Awareness Walk, and it's up the hill in Victorville on September 28th. And I think that's it. Yes. So thank you for tuning in. I hope that this has helped you. I am going to run off some information for you if you actually need help or want to direct somebody to get help for domestic violence. These are some hotline numbers. The first one is Desert Sanctuary, 760-956-3441. Doves, Big Bear, 800-851-7601. Hope House, Hesperia, 760-949-4357. House of Ruth, hotline, 877-988-5559. Again, thank you, San Bernardino, for tuning in. This is Gisette with Working in the Margins.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And I don't have a quote tonight because I wanted to use that time to give out those numbers. So thank you. I'll have 2 next week, I promise. Thank you again, San Bernardino, for tuning in.